They're going to go 3 wide.
And Andretti Karn moving up here at Mid-Ohio.
Turn number 4, side by side through the corner.
Rinus VeeKay and Robert McGinnis, a dead heat at the exit of turn number 2. Side by side, and Oliver Askew scores.
Drivers, start your engines!
That's pretty good.
It was a chorus.
Yeah, they did well. 3 guys together trying to say one thing. Man, to make that happen, that's unbelievable. Nicely done for, again, we got a great group of people here this weekend as part of the Anderson Companies. A lot of different team sponsors all here. The beauty of getting back to what we normally do, right? There's so many people that want to be involved in the Road to Indy, same as they want to be involved in the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. The people that are around here, it's just, I've had to dodge and weave people running back and forth from places, and that makes me happy.
It's a nice problem to have, that we've been able to have so many people here in the grandstands.
Yeah.
It has worked out beautifully. We're thrilled to be back, and we thank the folks at St. Petersburg. We thank all the volunteers, all the workers who have done so much to prepare for this weekend. This track takes an awful lot of time to set up. They had to squash that timeline down to be ready and be prepared in time, and it's all come together, and everyone has done such a great job. It's of course, we got backed up a little bit because the IndyCar qualifying went a little bit long. It was a bit of a scramble, but everyone has just done such a sensational job today.
It's 5:40 here local time. I don't think anybody's going to complain about watching some race cars go out, battle it out for 25 laps. It's cooling down right now. The sun's still out. It's just a gorgeous afternoon in St. Pete. Stingray Robb booked to the start from the pole position in that number 2. And again, that's a name you want to know. He's already locked and loaded the championship. Did that a couple of weeks ago at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Set the track record earlier today in qualifying for race number 2, and he is about prepped and ready to go here for the opening round of this doubleheader. And he'll start in the pole position alongside Daniel Frost. Frost will be running next year in Indy Lights as well in that number 68 machine. Parker Thompson alongside Hunter McElroy on row number 2. The 2 drivers that I'm waiting to break through to get that first victory here. We've had 7 different winners on the season. Thompson and McElroy are the 2 that I expect to finally be able to get a win. Artem Petrov and Manuel Suleiman on row number 3.
That's an awful lot of good things to say about the competition when you've had 7 different winners and you're down to the final 2 events of the season, and 2 of your top runners still haven't had a victory. Maybe you can even bump that number up a little further.
That's exactly right. Drivers working their way out onto the straightaway at a turn number 14. We're going racing here at St. Petersburg with the drivers in the Indy Pro 2000 category. Capping off the day, Stingray Robb on the inside from America. Daniel Frost, the Singapore driver, on the outside. Canada and Australia on row 2. Russia and Mexico row 3. Green, 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 and a great start for Stingray Robb. Parker Thompson going to dive to the inside as well. He'll get that run on Daniel Frost. He'll try to push wide. Couple drivers 2, 3 wide coming through the corner. They were 3 wide out of turn number 1, over to turn number 2, clean through 1. Through turn number 2, under the bridge here now as you see them work their way through. Clean start and a good one for Parker Thompson. Stingray Robb getting a really nice jump on the green. Caught Daniel Frost napping a little bit. That allowed Parker Thompson, Todd, to get to the inside of Daniel coming through turn number 2. He takes that spot, move Parker Thompson to P2.
And that's the opportunity that presents itself on the start and on restarts if we'll have them as well. If you time that green flag just right, Stingray Robb launched away and Parker Thompson was right in his wake, able to take advantage and gain a position.
We'll give you a full field rundown when they come back around, but you can see how the light's starting to get down a little bit here, a little softer in the evening in St. Petersburg. We're back at it bright and early at 9:30 tomorrow morning. The Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires with the second end of the doubleheader for Cooper Tires USF 2000. But Stingray Robb tried to put that exclamation point I keep talking about onto his season here. Track record for race 2, and he has already pulled away from Parker Thompson out front. It's a 1.2 second advantage on the opening lap.
Lap 1, what a job by Stingray Robb, a 1.2 second advantage. That is someone who is on it right away, and I'm interested to see if he'll get the word to say, hey, look, there's no need to try to go and do qualifying lap pace on every lap of the 25 lap race, and maybe he'll start to manage that pace just a little bit.
I think every driver will tell you if the car is good and if they feel good, you're able to get out front early. You know, that's the cold tire laps. You haven't built a lot of heat into the Coopers yet. You're trusting on the grip. You're trusting on the car. You build that 3-4 second gap, then you kind of relax a little bit. You'll maintain that. 3 to 4 seconds is what you want. You never know when you have a minor mistake. They'll all want to get out and kind of chill out at that point. This is a big gap already. You can see it all the way back to Parker Thompson and Daniel Frost. Artem Petrov up into the 4th position. Hunter McElroy goes to P5. Manuel Suleiman in 6th. Moises De Oliveira in 7th. Colin Kaminsky 8th. Rasmus Lind 9th. And Devlin DiFrancesco in 10th. DiFrancesco, the driver in a championship battle with Artem Petrov. Petrov closing up a little bit here. Nate Aranda runs in 11th. Corey Enders in 12th. Tristan Charpentier in 13th. And Charles Finelli in 14th.
It is already a 2-second gap after 2 laps back to Parker Thompson from Stingray Robb. We've talked about confidence. We've talked about momentum through the weekend so far. He's got a championship. He's won races. He's had a good run, especially into this last half of this season. This is the momentum, it seems like, that it's carrying through. And it's just, I'm gonna get that exclamation point that you talked about, and wants to finish saying that I didn't just win a championship, I dominated in a championship.
You know, I think with a car of this horsepower, the way you have to kind of throw it around, it's nimble, right? There's a lot of torque, and there's a lot of downforce, so you have to trust in the car, especially at a track like this at St. Petersburg. One little mistake, you find yourself off the track over here, off the track over there, whatever it may be. If you have confidence in that package and in your team, that's what you're able to do, what Stingray Robb's doing right now. Everything has gone his way from Indianapolis on after that first victory at Mid-Ohio, and man, this kid really starting to put a show on here in front of the right people, right? As we're talking about, he's only 2 steps away from IndyCar, to be honest. He's going Indy Lights Racing next year. If he has a dream season, he's on the IndyCar grid in 2022, and that's real. That's the reality here. If you can get the job done, someone from Indy Lights next year is going to be on the 2022 IndyCar grid.
The gap is now 2.25 seconds to Parker Thompson. Stingray Robb out in front. His last lap by a 109 flat, a 109.09. His qualifying speed yesterday, a 108.1. Now, these drivers, and especially Stingray Robb, went even better than that this morning with a 107.6 to set a new track record. So I would expect we'll see these times perhaps come down even just a little bit further.
I was going to say, if you have I don't have the lineup sheet with me right now. We may need to find out whether or not he's going to try to battle for his own personal race lap record. We'll have a look at that in a couple of seconds. It's a 2.2 second lead right now. Stingray's backed it down to about a 109.0. So he really is only about 0.3 quicker now per lap, but nonetheless, an unbelievably impressive run for Stingray Robb. There's another 109.027. I bet you he's getting close. There's Manuel Suleiman now does a 108.
Number of drivers now also into the 109s. The top 5 are into the 109s. Parker Thompson, Daniel Frost, Artem Petrov, and Hunter McElroy all into the 109s now. And as you mentioned, Manuel Suleiman, a 108.9 and a 109.6 for Rasmus Lind as well. So 6 of the top 7. In fact, all 7 are into the 109s, and Suleiman is into the 108s.
You know, one of the best races right now, a little bit further back, you can see Colin Kaminsky with Devlin DiFrancesco, Moises De Oliveira, Nate Aranda, and Corey Enders. They're all battling it out like crazy. We were watching them a bit on the screen. We'll see if we pick them up again. 5 laps down of what will be a 25-lapper, and we have a driver off the racetrack. That's on the exit of turn 1. One of the D-Force cars has gone off track, a spin, I believe, coming out of turn number 1. Pick up which driver that is right now. We'll see them falling down the order, of course. He's going to get rolling again. I think that might have been Corey Enders. Yeah, that might have been Enders. We'll watch to see if he falls down the order. Just in front of the leaders, significantly in front of the leaders, a full straightaway there. You can just see them coming back into play. Indeed, Corey Enders going around in turn number 1. Got the car refired and got back onto the racetrack, and a pretty solid advantage still over top, so he's not going to play a factor yet in this run for Stingray Robb up front. There's Enders coming out of turn number 9. So let's have a look at the replay here of the spin for Corey Enders as he's, I think probably just trying to carry a ton of speed into that corner and just got the wheel into it. And it wasn't even a throttle on, I think it was more just trying to get the car to rotate after it rolled off the brakes and rear end broke loose on him. did that 360 and parked it to the inside. Driver behind him, evasive maneuvers for sure.
And that's another trouble spot for Corey Enders this weekend. Wasn't able to post a time in yesterday's qualifying for race number 1. Had to start at the back of the field. Did jump up a couple of spots, but that may also be a bit of a case of a driver who's trying to make the most of a very bad starting spot to improve his position as the race moves on.
Steve Whittick from TSOladder.com, my texting stat man. He's always there for me every time I need him. Of course, Steve writing up the story here. A 108.514. That is the track record, race record. And Colin Kaminsky just laid down a pretty solid lap time there of a 108.569. So he's close. It's a 108.5144. That is the race record set last year, I believe, by Stingray Robb.
Now, I'm no good at math, but that would seem to be 5/100ths of a second
Again,
off the race record.
Wasn't he just a couple of thousandths off before Stingray Robb destroyed it in qualifying? It's been a good run for Colin Kaminsky, showing good pace here. And again, he's the fastest driver on the racetrack right now, trying to reel in Rasmuth Lindh. Again, final race of the season. We still call these guys rookies because it's the first year in the series, but they've run almost a full season minus one race. So they're essentially veteran drivers at this point here, but Colin Kaminsky's had a strong rookie season. Pabst Racing, their first year in the program in Indy Pro 2000. They're a powerhouse, of course, in USF. We'll see if Colin Kaminsky can reel in Rasmuth Lindh in the Turn 3 Motorsports number 3 machine. Otherwise, 7 laps down. Still a long way to go in this one here. A 25-lapper to cap off the day's action here from St. Petersburg. And the driver into pit lane, indeed, the 7 of Corey Enders has rolled that car down pit lane. Out of turn number 8 and 9. There's the battle there between Rasmuth Lindh and Colin Kaminsky. Devlin DeFrancesco not that far back either. And again, watching this battle for second place in the championship. Juncos Racing actually trying to go for first and second. Artem Petrov running in the 4th spot, the driver from St. Petersburg, Russia. Ran a partial season last year with RP Motorsport USA. Moved over to Juncos Racing this year in the 42. 311 points as he runs on track. Devlin DeFrancesco, 324 points. So it'll be a 13-point advantage for DeFrancesco in second.
Working lap 9, Stingray Robb out in front of the field. He started on the pole position and has stayed out front. The lead is 2.8 seconds over Parker Thompson, who runs second, Danielle Frost third, Artem Petrov fourth, and Hunter McElrea in the top 5.
Here's turn 4 and 5. We can see in this battle really start to develop between Artem Petrov, Hunter McElrea, and Manuel Suleiman as well. That is 4th, 5th, and 6th. And they are dicing it out big time. McElrea ran the inside line last time down into turn 1. Here's the lead for Robb, though. Man, this kid is on a roll right now. Coming off a victory in the back end as well of the race at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Actually, no, he got one win in New Jersey with Manuel Suleiman that won the 3rd race in the rain, but he was able to get a victory. I think a 1st, a 2nd, and a 3rd for Stingray in New Jersey to lock the championship down. Just trying to lock another win as well. Manuel Suleiman in that fight, as we said, trying to reel in McElrea, but don't even count out Lindh and Kaminsky either. It's starting to tighten up a bit here.
It has in that middle portion. The first couple of cars have got a little bit of distance between them, but then that 4th, 5th, 6th, and even 7th are really tight together as we are working lap number 10.
Again, Stingray Robb setting that fastest race lap record last year of a 108.5144. Haven't had anybody break that record yet. .8 seconds the lead for Stingray. Watching this fight coming through here. A little further back in the pack, Nate Aranda and Tristan Charpentier. Charpentier making his first start here in the Indy Pro 2000 category.
All of these battles seem to have spread out just a little bit in the last couple of laps as you get to almost the halfway portion of this race. This may be drivers saying, all right, I need to sort of step back, not essentially slowing down, but just sort of mentally trying to refocus their attention on where they might be able to find that advantage, also not wanting to use up their car and have a little bit left for the end. But it's a time where you'll start to evaluate, all right, I'm better in this corner, and I have to be closer to my opponent to try to have an advantage and get around them.
And I think we want to remember as well that we talked about it during qualifying, all the teams going through their sticker tires. So all of these tires got used significantly during the qualifying runs as well. So nobody out here on fresh tires, everybody on rubber that's a little bit used up and it's going to keep kind of falling away, degrading a little bit near the end of the race. As I said, though, the Coopers do stay very consistent. And it's interesting, we talked about the lap times that Stingray Robb was able to blister out there. Well, now a 1:08.7, pretty much the same lap time as Parker Thompson. Got himself a 2.8 second lead. Now we pedal it, throttle it back a little bit. Let's see what we can do to keep this lead and try to get another race win.
This is also one of the skills that the drivers learn on the road to Indy, is how to manage your car, how to manage a race as well. If you have a lead, if having a 3-second lead is excellent, but it doesn't mean you have to try to stretch it out every single time. But now we got a problem with Parker Thompson, who's falling down the field.
Parker Thompson falling to the tail of the field here in the number 9 machine. Wow, it's been a rough day for D-Force Racing. Yeah, they won with Kiko Porto in USF 2000, but they watched Cameron Shields have an issue. And now it's Parker Thompson who has fallen to the tail of the field again. The luck is just not on the side of Parker Thompson in the number 9 D-Force Racing machine, as he has fallen all the way to the tail of the field. Watching the work, Artem Petrov here work his way through. Petrov with Hunter McElroy right behind him. That's going to move Petrov onto the podium in 3rd. Parker Thompson just rolling off the racetrack now to come into pit lane. Some kind of a mechanical for Parker. Man, he's just had good speed and bad luck all year long.
And you said, and it's funny how there are some years that are like that. You mentioned the race earlier, I think it was Mid-Ohio, where he seemed to have everything under control, and it all went away just so quickly.
Indeed. It's very similar to what we saw with Cameron Shields. Parker will bring that number 9 machine into pit lane. Not sure what's wrong with it, but he is done, and they have parked it. Manuel Suleiman just set fast lap of the race. Still not quite enough to take over that fast race lap. That is, I believe, Fat Boy Racing's Charles Finelli doing a drive-through. Look at this. The thing is, there's a number of drivers that are close enough to potentially battle. That's the fight right there between Rasmuth Lint and Colin Kaminsky as they roll through. That there is Moises de Oliveira. But I'm telling you, Colin Kaminsky is relentless here on the pressure he's putting on Rasmuth Lint. But, of course, Rasmuth, multi-time winner last year here in Indy Pro 2000, was scheduled to go with Belardi Auto Racing into Indy Lights this year. Number of starts in the LMP3 category in IMSA with Performance Tech Motorsports. And for Rasmuth coming back here to get some seat time to cap off the season before he goes back into Indy Lights testing, he's been challenged in a big way here by Colin Kaminsky.
Working lap 13, just about the midpoint of this 25-lap race. It is Stingray Robb that is well in control now. After the problems with Parker Thompson has fallen out of second, it is Daniel Frost that has moved up to second spot. Artem Petrov, Hunter McElroy, and Manuel Suleiman in the top 5.
And that is a new race lap record for Daniel Frost, a 1:08.383, the track record for the fastest lap in a race in Indy Pro 2000. 1:08.383, 0.2 quicker than Stingray Robb. You got to think too little, too late. Still 12 laps to go, but he's 3.7 seconds back, and I don't think we've seen Stingray drop the hammer as of yet.
And even with that 1:08.3, it's still 0.2 of a second, only 0.2 of a second quicker than Stingray Robb.
This particular camera shot's maybe my favorite on the racetrack, because you can see it. People don't think about this. These are city streets on a daily basis, right? How many days out of the year? Let's take 15 days out, so call it 350 plus days a year. It's the city street. It's covered in the oil, the tires, but it's got the crown in the road. That's what I love about that shot coming out of turn number 9. You can see the drivers come out, and the car goes over top of the crown, and it just obviously wants to rotate. It wants to have that rear end come back around. And those drivers have to handle that. And that's what I think is so impressive here.
And you're right. It's just understanding not exactly what the handling of the car could do, but what the handling of the car will do based on the shape of the road. And
Exactly.
at the city streets, they are crowned so that rain and water runs off them. If you're trying to make a right-hand turn, but with the crown in the road, it wants to send you to the left, that's when you have to know when to put enough wheel into the car to make sure that you can complete that corner and keep those tires off the wall.
I love that shot.
Yeah.
Every time you see that shot, it's a little bit of exit oversteer. You see the car get loose. Every time, throttle, because you got to get on the throttle early coming out of turn 9 to get all the way down into turn number 10, right? And the thing just keeps wanting to step out. You see those drivers correcting, getting more wheel into it. This is what separates, I think, you and I or anybody else that can potentially drive a race car pretty quickly around a track. It's having those lightning fast reflexes to do it within a track that's 30 feet wide. Maybe it looks, when you get out there, it is so much more narrow than it actually looks when you're actually going through the corner. It's amazing.
Especially when you're seated in one of these cars that has you barely a couple of inches off the ground. Those concrete walls are at eye level.
Yeah.
And it is you're right, it is the reflexes and the reaction time with those drivers, those lightning quick hands, the eye and the information transfer through the brain to the hands, and to be able to react that quickly and not overreact as well, because if you do that, you're likely to put the back end of the car into the wall.
That's it. I'll tell you, a guy on the move right now is Hunter McElroy in that number 18 Pabst Racing Machine. Look at him. He's coming out at turn number 10. They're really working it. Same goes for Rasmus Lint and Colin Kaminsky. They are closing up on Manuel Suleiman. That's for P5. But McElroy last time by was 4/10 quicker than Artem Petrov. We may see a battle here for the final step on the podium. There's your leader, Stingray Robb out of turn number 14. P2, Daniel Frost, the Singapore driver for turn 3 Motorsports. And then it's Artem Petrov, Hunter McElroy, Manuel Suleiman, Rasmus Lint, and Colin Kaminsky. Almost nose to tail. It ends up being 4 lengths as they come by, 4 or 5 car lengths as they come by start finish. But the accordion back down when they get on the brakes into turn number 1. And here they are at the exit of 1. You can see how close Manuel Suleiman is now. Manuel trying to work his way up into the points as well. Currently, I think Manuel, I want to say where we go here, I think he'd be 4th place in points. No, I'll make that 5th. Stingray Robb with 417 points. Devlin DeFrancesco still running 2nd with 325. Artem Petrov just 11 back with 314. Daniel Frost back by just 6 points from Petrov as well. And then the high driver in the 200s, and that would be the 289 of Hunter McElroy. He would be P5 right now. So everybody tightening things up.
Stingray Robb clinched the championship, but still an awful lot to be decided in the 2nd, 3rd, and perhaps even 4th in this Indy Pro 2000 Championship.
Indeed.
This is race number 1 of the weekend. They'll be back on track again tomorrow for their 2nd and final event. They will be on track tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. So again, not a lot of time between the conclusion of this race and the start of the next one. And we've had 2 retirements because of mechanical issues. Parker Thompson and Corey Enders. Those teams will be busy tonight getting ready for tomorrow.
I will tell you this. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. We have, 7 laps to go. None of these teams in Indy Pro 2000 are going out for dinner tonight. They're all bringing food in, and these guys will be working on these cars probably till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock tonight, making sure that they are absolutely perfect. They'll nut and bolt everything. They'll go through it. They'll make the changes they want after the debriefs they've been in. These guys will be here late this evening, making sure these cars are ready for the final race of the 2020 season. Oh, look at that.
I know, just going to say, watching through that shot again, just seeing the back end of the car, it starts to step out, then the correction. And the drivers, every lap, it's just that same quick reaction time that's necessary to maximize the performance through that right-hander.
That's exactly it. 17 laps in the books, 8 laps to go here. Stingray Robb leading by 3.4 seconds. So here's your rundown as we're coming to the end of this one. Stingray Robb with the lead. Daniel Frost runs 2nd, Artem Petrov in 3rd, Hunter McElroy 4th, Manuel Suleiman 5th. 6th is Rasmus Lint, 7th Colin Kaminsky, 8th Devlin DeFrancesco, 9th is Moises de Oliveira, 10th Nate Aranda, 11th Tristan Charpentier, 12th Charles Finelli, and the drivers out of the race already, Parker Thompson, and I believe Corey Enders. Corey may have come back onto the racetrack, or he may be done. 7 laps in the books here for Corey, but nonetheless, 12 drivers still essentially 8, actually only 11 on the lead lap.
still a pretty good fight going on in those 4th, 5th, and 6th positions with Hunter McElroy, Manuel Sullivan, Rasmus Lind, even Colin Kaminsky as well, all still trying to shuffle for position. 3 or 4 tenths the gap between most of those drivers.
Again, the fast lap, we've seen a new track record in the 108.3s for Daniel Frost, resets our fast race lap record. Stingray Rob's not really worried about this record, I think. He'd be more than happy to get another victory. 2 pole positions, $1,500 prize for both of those, so $3,000 already on the docket for the weekend for Stingray Rob. He's more concerned about the almost $625,000 championship prize he's going to get to go Indy Lights racing next year. So that's a big haul for the driver from Payette, Idaho.
That's already wrapped up. He has clinched the championship. He has got pole position for both races. Now it's about getting victories and ending the season with that momentum that we talked about, having that confidence, having that momentum heading into the offseason. It makes the offseason training work go a little bit smoother as well. All that extra time that you're going to have to put into the gym to prepare for the next step up. The next step up on those Indy Lights cars, they are more challenging, they are more difficult to handle, they are more sophisticated. That requires more from the driver.
I'll tell you, a good little battle here further back is Tristan Charpentier able to go up into the top 10 now. But that fight we're watching with Rasmus Lind, Manuel Sullivan, and Colin Kaminsky, I'll tell you, Rasmus, he's showing his ability to drive this car around because he is drifting it out of turn number 9, flat wheeling it, and Kaminsky putting so much pressure on him here as well. Colin just trying to get a better run out of 14 to see if he can't run him down. Back to turn 1, there's Frost. That is 3rd and 4th, Petrov and McElroy, then 5th, 6th, and 7th. Sullivan, Lind, and Kaminsky.
Something that we haven't talked about much this weekend. We talked about the crown in the road and the difference in the surfaces from parking lot and to city streets and to the airport runway, but there are different surfaces as well. There's asphalt, there's concrete, and those curbs as well, also of a different compound. That's something else that these drivers have to deal with as they make their way around this 1.8-mile circuit.
Yeah, I'm more worried about that concrete all the way around the outside of the walls. But yes, you're right. There are concrete patches.
There is plenty of that.
Yeah, which are much different to handle when the drivers are coming through. The car's going to you get on the concrete, it's going to push a little bit more. It doesn't have the same grip on the front of the car. And the drivers will get used to that, but it's never settling. It's never comfortable.
No, and it's the transition at times around the track. You'll be on asphalt, then concrete, back on asphalt, and sometimes in very short sequence. And if you have different tires on different surfaces, that becomes a challenge as well.
A really good run out of this corner here for Rasmus Lind as he's going to potentially try to make a move. Just can't quite get it. And one of the issues the drivers will talk about, that's Finelli coming back into pit lane. In that hairpin where you're trying to get really deep into the hairpin to roll back on the throttle, that's when you're up behind a driver and you start to lose a little bit of that air off the front wing. And you've got the wheel into it, and once you've lost the downforce where that clean air is not flowing over top of the front wing as the driver's gone off, that's Kaminsky. Kaminsky has overshot turn number 5 or turn 4. So that is going to allow DeFrancesco to roll through. There's Kaminsky coming back. DeFrancesco through, Moises De Oliveira through. That's going to be big in the championship to get second for DeFrancesco. That's going to give him a couple more points. So Kaminsky pushing hard, driving into turn number 4, overcooks it, off into the escape route.
Just we talked about late in the race, understanding there's only 3 or 4 laps remaining, trying to push a little bit harder, try to pick up that 1 extra position, drive a little deeper into the corner. The braking is not there, and look at Stingray Rob has just posted a new fast lap, a 1:08.361, 1:08.362 seconds.
Exclamation point. New track record for the race. Now he has the outright qualifying record and retakes the race lap record that he had lost for a moment there for a number of laps from Daniel Frost. It's not over yet, of course, but Stingray Rob, it got down to 2.1 seconds. He went, nah, too close for comfort. I'm going to grab another gear and stretch this out a little bit.
I wonder if he's at the point where it's like, okay, I'm in front and I'm comfortably in front. Do you almost let the tires cool ever so slightly, and then it's like, all right, let's really try and put one in to get that lap?
I don't know. I don't know.
Does it get to the point that it's like, you know what, we're just having fun out here? There's a confidence in the team. There's a confidence in the car and the performance you're going to get. Let's go let one rip.
You know, with the championship already locked and loaded, maybe they give them the green light to drop it down. You know, just cool those tires off for a couple laps. I'll have to ask that question later on. Otherwise, just maybe stretching that gap a little bit. It's down to 1.8 seconds right now. Daniel Frost is closing over the last couple of laps here. Stingray actually backed it off about a half a second. There's 2 laps remaining for Stingray. You don't want to slow down too much, because when you get out of the rhythm, it's when you make a mistake. These cars like to be driven fast. If you and I went out there and drove it at half speed, it would be, the steering would be super, super heavy. You got to go fast enough to get that car to rotate to allow those wings to do the work. Daniel Frost definitely closing up here a little bit on the final couple laps, trying to make it interesting. Stingray laid down that 108.3, backed it up with a 108.8, a half a second slower. I don't know if there's potentially an issue. Did he tap the wall somewhere? I don't know. Daniel Frost closing up. But Stingray is going to see the white flag, I believe, when he comes out onto the front straightaway. Tom Hansing, I believe. No, that's Aaron Lykin still up on the tower to give the white flag to Stingray Robb. Trying to go for another race win. Got those track records back to where he wanted them. Both saying Stingray. Artem Petrov still running P3 as he's in that battle with Devlin DeFrancesco. DeFrancesco getting another point there, so it's a 12-point advantage for DeFrancesco. Stingray Robb, final lap on this racetrack, just going to cruise it around here. With about a 10th slower than Daniel Frost lap time. Daniel actually pushing it hard here on the final lap. I don't know if Stingray's going to make a mistake here. Last lap, coming through turn number 10. Gives himself lots of room on the exit. Just the 11, 12, 13, 14 combination to lead back onto the straightaway here. What a weekend it's been so far. A couple of track records for Stingray Robb, and he'll come out of the final corner here at St. Petersburg, starting off the season finale with a win. Stingray Robb, the young American, victorious for Juncos Racing in race number 1 of Indy Pro 2000, setting a new fast lap again, a 108.279. That's the way to do it. Reset the race lap record on the final circuit. Stingray Robb with the win. Daniel Frost second. 2 drivers in Juncos Racing in the top 3. Artem Petrov onto the podium. Hunter McElrea ends up finishing in that 4th position. Manuel Suleiman in 5th. Rasmus Lint in 6th. Devlin DeFrancesco 7th. Colin Kaminsky trying to close back up to Moises De Oliveira on the final lap. Comes up just short. De Oliveira 8th. Kaminsky 9th. Charpentier rounding out the top 10. But it's another Stingray Robb win, Todd. Very impressive run for him. Daniel Frost, Artem Petrov on the podium. I'll head down there now and we'll pass out some hardware and cap off the day.
Well, I was always under the impression that it was one exclamation mark maximum when you were writing in English, but Stingray Robb has used several of them this weekend.
That's more of a social media exclamation point.
Fair enough,
right?
fair enough.
As many as you want.
Rob Howden is headed down to victory podium to award the hardware to Stingray Robb, Daniel Frost, and Artem Petrov, the top 3 finishers, here in our final race of the day. What an event for the Indy Pro 2000 series. Stingray Robb has already clinched the championship coming into this event. Set a new track record in qualifying a little bit earlier today. He will start on the pole for tomorrow's race number 2, and he sets a new race lap record on the final lap of this 25-lapper here to round out our Saturday action, a 108.279.
Race 1 done here at St. Pete. We got the win. Set a new race record, which was my own, so I'm really happy to do that. Kind of set the standard a little bit higher today. And, 2 race records in one day is something special. Huge thank you to the Juncos crew. I think that they gave me a great car this weekend, and so hopefully we'll be able to carry that into tomorrow. Daniel was coming there at the end, but we ended up setting the fast lap time on the last lap. So huge props to the team. Everyone's here supporting me. I'm just so happy to have my friends and family here as well. Thank you.